Good evening. I'd like to call to order a meeting of the Wilbraham Regional School District School Committee meeting. It's Thursday, August 20th, 5:30 p.m. I'd like to do roll call for attendance. I'm going to mess up doing this in alphabetical order. Bill Metzger.
Present.
Rich Redeker.
Here.
Tim.
Present.
Sean. Here. Lisa. Michelle. Okay. Oh, and myself, Michael Turbassi, I'm in attendance. All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Bill, would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first on the agenda, we have new business, some changes to the student handbook that I think John's going to talk to us about.
Yes, thank you. As is our practice, we didn't produce the whole student handbook, but only an excerpt that shows you the changes. There are really 3 sections of changes in this year's handbook, and we've already talked about 2 of them. When I was discussing the updated bullying prevention and intervention plan with the school committee, I highlighted that the non-discrimination section of the student handbook would be undergoing some significant revision. The first 2 paragraphs of changes, all that blue text is completely new text. These are all changes that are made to bring the language into conformity with all the non-discrimination policies that the school committee has updated in its most recent revision of policies. The next change is the vision of equity statement, which the school district adopted, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago at this point. We're just adding that to this section because it flows with the non-discrimination discussion. Also, in the spring, we adopted a theory of change, which also speaks to our strategies for reducing discrimination in the district, and so we're adding that section as well. And then the strategic plan also called for us to develop some standards of behavior and continuum of intervention specifically around behaviors related to discrimination. And so the section called Standards of Behavior, Unacceptable Behaviors, and Continuum of Interventions are all additions that are new to the handbook this year. The standards of behavior are basically taken directly from the vision of equity statement and the theory of change. If you think about what those statements are calling for, we just define those in behavioral terms. And then the unacceptable behaviors are behaviors that are explicitly prohibited in the district's non-discrimination policies. And then the continuum of interventions align with the interventions that are part of our bullying prevention and intervention plan. And as you can see, they run the full gamut from supportive measures, which include things like safety plans and transportation changes, to targeted remedies, which could be corrective action plans or educational interventions, mediation, restorative justice, to formal discipline, school-based discipline, things like people normally think of in terms of discipline, detention, suspension, expulsion, and then discipline that is not within the purview of the school for the most extreme types of behavior, which is referral to law enforcement agencies. Then, in order to clarify reporting protocols, we added this table that explains the responsible personnel for the various non-discrimination statutes that the district enforces. We identified as well that individuals can make a complaint at any of their school buildings, and also external agencies that individuals can make complaints to if they feel the district is being unresponsive to their complaints. So that's the first section of changes. The second section of change is also something we've discussed to a great extent in this setting, which is timeout, seclusion, and physical restraint. So you've recently adopted a new policy on timeout, seclusion, and physical restraint. The language in the handbook mirrors the language in the policy that you adopted. And next week, all staff will be trained in the language of the new policy. And then the final change, this is really just a wording thing, there's nothing really substantive about it. The Asbestos Hazard Emergency Response Act notice, just slightly wording on it, but as I said, there's nothing really substantive there. So those three changes are the three changes we're bringing forward to the handbook this year. Those are our recommendations, and we're seeking approval of those changes to the handbook.
Before we start discussing this, it's an amateur hour, something I forgot to do. Is anyone recording the meeting this evening? Okay, public access TV. Is anyone else recording the meeting? Okay, nobody else is recording the meeting. At some point, I think I'm looking for a motion to accept.
Motion to accept the changes as proposed by the superintendent.
Second. Discussion?
Yeah, I am still concerned about the timeout section. My question is, in all of our school buildings, do we have the space to follow these instructions? And do we have the personnel to follow these instructions?
The only 3 buildings that have timeout spaces are Mile Tree, Green Meadows, and Stony Hill. Sewell Road, the middle school, and the high school do not have designated timeout spaces. And all of our buildings do have CPI, Crisis Prevention Institute, trained staff who are trained both in de-escalation as well as physical restraint.
So we have some buildings that can't follow this procedure because they don't have the space.
We don't use timeout as an intervention at the middle school and high school or at the upper elementary level.
I would just add, from my perspective, that is typical based on the developmental level and size and strength of students when they get to be that large. Timeout is more of something, when it's teacher-directed timeout, something that is more typically done with younger students.
It may not be something that happens in our school district, but I have been in school districts where middle school and high school kids do need a timeout, a cooling off period, if the education for the rest of the students in that class is to continue. And I'm concerned that, especially in the middle school, there is no space. And I think most of our teachers and paraprofessionals don't have free time to separate themselves from their own duties to watch an individual student who is, you know, experienced some trauma and is disruptive to the classrooms. And I mean, if we were to put, this is like right out of Desi's proposal, and to write something like that into our handbook, that, and I hope it never would occur, but should it occur in the middle school or in the high school, that you need a place to separate a child from the rest of the class so that education can continue and that child would be safe and monitored. I don't think we have the capacity to do that should the need arise.
So typically at the middle school and high school level, if a student needs to take a break or have a cooling off period, they're doing that with the support of one of our school adjustment counselors, our school psychologist, or another administrative team member. And so while we don't have a designated timeout space, typically they're the response staff who help support that student or that faculty member with taking that cooling off and time away. And they're co-regulating with those staff members and then reintegrating into the classroom when they can.
I think what might help, Tim, is that when I went to that administrative training, that the definition of timeout I had in my mind, and maybe Tim has in his mind, was clarified by Desi in that memo, that it's not really that it was something different than what we thought it would be that made a lot of these regulations moot point that we were worried about. So maybe you want to explain what that clarification was.
Sure. So our council's guidance to us, which Dr. Provost referenced at our last meeting, is that we will not be using seclusion in any of our schools. So seclusion and timeout are two different pieces, but seclusion is something that won't be implemented, which is the piece that we were most concerned about.
Seclusion was like almost behind in a room with mirrors, and I mean the definition of it was something that we just don't do. It wasn't like put a kid in a corner over there for a few minutes. That is not referenced. That's not illegal. It's not in it's not referenced by the new rules.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Sean? Bill?
Aye.
Rich?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Passes unanimously. 5-0.
Hey, Mike, if you wouldn't mind saving me last right before you go, just because I try to put myself on mute, so if I'm like moving around, I don't want the microphone to pick up extra noise, and when I hear you, I know you start the vote, then I can just kind of go in to my phone and unmute it, so I'm not causing a disturbance, if that's okay.
Of course, Sean. No problem at all. I called you first because I didn't want to forget to call you. But I will remember to call you last. No worries. All right, old business, 2026-27, school calendar revisions. So exciting.
Okay, this is a very minor change. This is really just for your information, doesn't require a vote. Doesn't change the first day of school or last day of school or any of the vacations. It's really just as the high school in particular began building out some of the detailed scheduling for the new year, they realized that the 2 semesters were a little unbalanced. Previously we had final exams for semester 1 falling on January 14th and 15th, which makes the first semester a little short and the second semester a little long. The new calendar moves the final exams to the 21st and 22nd, which provides a better balance between the first and second semester. So it affects those half days that fall around the final exams at the end of the first semester, but that's the only change.
Any questions or concerns, guys? Okay. Regional agreement update.
So this is just an oral update. I don't have anything in the packet for you on this. Just to let you know that the parties continue to meet and work collaboratively on issues surrounding the regional agreement and the MOU. There was a board meeting held this Monday at which Attorney Winter expressed some comments around the proposed language of the regional agreement. To just paraphrase him, I think he said that did not see red flags in the language that the district had drafted, but felt there were some things that could be further refined. I believe there's a phone call scheduled between Attorney Winter and Attorney Sweeney to take place on Monday. Prior to that, there's a phone call that Dr. Slaughter and I are going to have with Attorney Sweeney just to go over some thoughts about some of the feedback we've received. I can also share that about an hour before This meeting, I was copied on a communication from the Hamden Select Board to the Wilbraham Select Board. Again, just sharing thoughts about the regional agreement and the MOU. Again, I think that it's continuing to move forward in the spirit of collaboration and productivity. I am a little bit concerned about the timeline, and I did share that at the Select Board meeting on Monday. I hope that some of these conversations would have taken place earlier. As you may recall, I wanted the school committee to at least vote on that version of the regional agreement to indicate its willingness to that approach. But August was a tough month with vacation schedules, and so there really hasn't been a lot of progress made in terms of actual new language for you to take a look at. But the parties are still in communication and are still driving towards the same goals.
Any questions or discussion, please? Okay, Assistant Superintendent, update.
So I'll start with the monthly budget update. It's very similar to what you saw last month. We're in that time period, the first couple of months of the fiscal year are pretty quiet by virtue of the fact that we're not having students here. We're paying out the tail end of fiscal 26's obligations to staff. So we don't have a lot of salaries that are hitting the budget. There are the usual beginning of year sort of encumbrances and payments that we're trying to make by virtue of subscriptions to software, curriculum materials, school supplies, that sort of thing that are happening. So that's proceeding in the way we would hope it would, and there's a few things that are starting to hit on the sort of capital and building maintenance sections of the budget, just because we're doing that work this summer. Some of those will really start to show up a little bit in the next few months as we finish some projects that we worked on this summer, that sort of thing. Again, one note that I make in the memo to you is that we have taken the offsets that are in our budget and applied those to reduce what our budget expectation is. But when we encumber the full amount, and it's when we actually are paying the expenses that we start to apply those resources from, say, school choice or circuit breaker or those type of things. And so it looks as though some might be overextended at this point. They're really not at this point. It's all encumbrance, and it'll moderate itself as we go through the year and we start to apply those resources from those other funding sources. There's, as I note, there's no real surprises so far, which is always good news in my role. So we're ready to start the school year with the funding that we put together to fund our budget. So I think we're in pretty good shape. And open to any questions people have relative to this report.
Will the circuit breaker money be sufficient to put that line that's in the red and the black?
Yes, and there's there are some funds above that will also get utilized to help that sort of general section of the budget. All of those areas there that are related to support for special education are going to be benefiting from that. So yes, we're in good shape that way.
Thank you.
Okay. MSBA update.
Okay, so I believe we've mentioned to you before that the folks at MSBA have scheduled an on-site visit to come and look at our middle school as part of our statement of interest for the core program for the middle school. They're coming out on the 16th. They'll spend half to 3/4 of a day poking around and looking at things and getting a first-hand sense of stuff. It's called a senior program review, so that's the process we're in right now with that. So that's a good sign. We're still in process on that. For our currently active accelerated repair program projects at Mile Tree and at Stony Hill, we had, in the month of July, we were notified by MSBA that of who our designer would be and who our OPM or owner's project manager would be for the project. So they notified us of that. They gave us the template for the contracts for both of them. And there was those two things plus a calendar registration form so they can access our information on MSBA. So we worked with our OPM and they helped put together, they filled in the blanks basically on the contracts, got those all together. Those were due the 17th, we got them turned in, about a week ahead of that. The schedule we got polished up around the 14th, so that's the end of the week. But we got everything turned in, so we're on track and meeting the obligations of the MSBA process. And as the fall rolls along, we'll start to get into the details of actual design and preparation works for those two programs.
The MSBA meeting on the 15th of September.
It's the 16th of September, it's a Wednesday. Yeah. And they're mostly coming to do, they send a couple of the MSBA staff that are doing that due diligence for the background so that they can put together a recommendation to the board itself. So these are people with technical expertise that are coming to make notes, compare what we've told them about our buildings, what notes they got when they did a full review of the buildings. They did a survey through a third-party company about the time I came on, so during the 24-25 school year. So they're taking information they have and firsthand walking through, making notes and posing questions about the physical structure of the building and seeing it in operation and collecting that data so that they can build their recommendation to the full MSBA board for action.
So they come while classes in session?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. Cool. That's part of what they want to see is, how full is the building? You tell us it's full, but then they want to see that as part and parcel of it. They want to see the kids move around the building. They want to see the, the sort of physical stuff. They want to see the, electrical, the electrical panels, the boilers, they'll probably go up on the roof. They'll do,
fans and dehumidifiers.
Yeah, they'll see all that. Yeah, exactly. So they'll be, they'll get to experience all that firsthand. But they do want to see some of the operational things like, kids changing classes and how full are your classrooms, and all of those things are all part and parcel of what they're going to be trying to keep an eye on and make notes about.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion, guys? All right, we'd like to move on for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment? You guys are all going very easy on me tonight. All right, subcommittee updates. Curriculum subcommittee. We don't have a representative present tonight.
I think I might have a representative, nothing's happened, so.
Okay, cool. Planning committee has not met, I believe, correct? Finance and Operation and Technology Subcommittee, we have not met or reorganized, but we have set up a meeting with representatives from Hamden Advisory and Wilbraham FinCom, right? It's on, what's?
September 14th at 5 o'clock.
Monday, September 14th, with the main purpose of that meeting to be discussing financial items that are going to be relative to the schools on the fall town meeting warrants. LPVEC Collaborative Representative, Lisa's not here. I can only guess that maybe they didn't meet. Negotiations Subcommittee, we don't have, oh, Sean.
Yeah, I believe we have a meeting scheduled for next week. It hasn't been finalized nor the time, but I think that should be all finalized tomorrow. But we are having a meeting next week with UNC.
Okay, excellent. Policy Subcommittee, we've not had a meeting and we've not scheduled one, I don't believe, because we don't have something to work on yet. There is one thing? Huh?
I need to get it to you so they can work on it.
We'll be setting up a meeting for Policy Subcommittee. All right, LPVEC Corporation Representative.
There's been no meeting.
I informed them of your new appointment.
Yes, they reached out.
Okay, very good. Okay. All right, consent agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, roll call vote. Me, yes. Bill?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Sean?
Aye.
All right. Superintendent's update.
Thank you. Our strategic plan calls for us to establish a system to orient new staff to safety security procedures. This item is intended to address a training gap that all districts face. Our principals review safety protocols with their staff at the beginning of each year, and we practice fire drills and lockdown procedures several times a year. But the churn of staff is constant. So we always have some amount of new staff in the district who haven't had an opportunity to be a part of a drill or weren't there at the beginning of the year when principals went over the safety procedures. These individuals are less knowledgeable about the district's safety procedures because they came on board in between training sessions. To mitigate this exposure, we created this brief training video to share with new hires as part of their onboarding process. We'll share just a minute or two with you to give you a sense of the content.
Welcome everyone to this absolutely critical explainer. Today we're diving into something that literally touches every single one of us, the safety and security of our entire school community. I'm super enthusiastic about bringing you this information because, let's face it, school safety isn't just some dusty policy on a shelf. It's a shared mission. It pulses through the entire school ecosystem. From the second that first bus pulls up in the morning to the very last bell of the day, every single adult in this building plays a totally vital part in protecting our students and, of course, protecting each other. Okay, let's dive into this roadmap. Today, we're covering 5 main areas. 1, introduction and preparedness. 2, lockdown procedures. 3, shelter-in-place protocol. 4, evacuation routes and rules. And 5, emergency medical response. Section 1, introduction and preparation.
Okay, so you can see those are the pieces. You can see 7 minutes. Just doesn't go into detail, but does give new staff a brief overview of what we're trying to accomplish in each of those areas. We consistently receive positive feedback about the physical safety of our schools. In part, it's because something we prioritize. We're always looking for ways to close safety gaps or training gaps to make our schools safer places. So I'm happy to add this to our school's safety tool chest. And I think it's going to be well received as we roll it out this year. So that's my report.
Good job, John. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, enrollment.
Oh, yes. Enrollment. Thank you for reminding me. So this is very much in a state of flux. So you can see in the past 3 weeks, we added about 25 students. So the number right now is 2,795. But that is very much a rough draft number as well. We have a number of students who are fully registered who are not placed in classes yet because we're waiting for some information that will help us to place them in classes. And we have a large number of students that are in various aspects of the registration process. So, this number will continue to vary really throughout the month of September and even October. This is kind of why October 1st is chosen as the date for a lot of very important school enrollment calculations. It's just something that on a daily basis, our office is inundated right now with people requesting records either because they're moving out or bringing us records because they're moving in. So this is a very fluid time for enrollment.
John, based on the numbers of applications that you have, like you said, you're still waiting on stuff or it hasn't been processed or something like that. Roughly, do you have a way to guess on how many applications that might be? Roughly.
I would guess that we're probably going to see similar kind of movement between now and the next report as we had between last report and this one. So I would imagine we're probably coming in somewhere around 2,825 at the next meeting, and maybe few more after that as we finalize our preschool.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, future agenda items. We have on here car loops at all schools, AI discussion in buses. Is there anything that anyone would like added to future agenda items? I'd like to put on to future agenda items for us to discuss snacks and drinks at the meetings and the possibility of a coffee club kind of model as a committee when everybody's here. Because as I understand it, we're not going to be able to continue to support this budget-wise. Although, maybe I'm wrong.
Or just not have snacks and everyone bring whatever they want to bring.
Well, right, we'll put it on the agenda so we can all discuss. Right, people could bring stuff, or, you know, how like in the office, Sean, you give, you know, you pay $5, everybody pays $5, and then stuff shows up, you know. All right, executive session pursuant to.
Actually, Mike, one quick thing.
Yeah.
So with part of the AI discussion that we have on there for future agenda items, Rich Rediker sent me a podcast that had someone being interviewed about it, and it just so happens I have a connection to that person, and I can have that person come in and join that conversation. Do you think it would be appropriate? Would that be a separate conversation? Do you think it would be part of that AI conversation? Should it be on as another future agenda item, or is it all encompassed, do you think, in that?
As I understand it, Sean, I don't think there was a specific topic for that future AI discussion, more an acknowledgement that we're going to have to continue to discuss it through the year. I think I'd encourage you to discuss that with Michelle to see when she's planning on putting it on a future agenda item. And what would be the, you know, the specific, I mean, we could sit here and talk about AI for 12 hours, right? So, you know, when discussions come up, probably they're going to need to be focused on a certain question that we need to provide direction from. And probably the questions will come from John. We've gotten to a point where we're looking for direction, and then we're going to have a discussion about it, kind of thing.
You know, that might be a better, for at least for this individual. I think that maybe I'll just talk to John about that, and maybe that's something that doesn't even have to be part of the meeting or whatever. And then if we think it would be added value for the committee, then I can reach out to Michelle. We can schedule something. All right, I got it. Thank you.
Yep.
But part of the discussion on AI going forward, and I've been reading a lot more about this even just recently, has to do with almost assessments. It has to do with how schools are changing assessments because AI is doing the work for all the kids. And you have to really, and so many schools are going towards, you know, I mean, St. John, that's saying blue books back again in terms of that. So I think that's part of it's AI discussion, but not just something like how AI works or AI specifics is now with AI being so prevalent everywhere, yeah, how do you really assess kids? So that's kind of like a two-part kind of discussion.
Blue books. Do the teachers still know how to decipher handwriting?
With AI, I don't think that's a very good statement or accurate.
What was the question? I missed what John just said.
You had made reference that every student uses AI, you know, to write their papers, and I think that's not a valid characterization. I know many students that don't, and I don't think we should make it an all thing. We can say many, but I wouldn't say all.
I didn't say all, but many.
I-
A lot of these articles talk about the.
I want to reel us in because we're listing future agenda items, but I think we're quickly getting into a discussion, which probably isn't fair because it's on the agenda as a future item.
So agenda can be AI and assessments, you know, kind of how it works with assessments.
Okay. Yeah, assessments and grading and writing and stuff, and maybe some of the teachers want to come and talk about, you know, their experiences once the semester gets up and going. All right, executive session pursuant to MGIC Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with HWA or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares. HWEA Units A and C Contracts, MIAA Demand Letter Response. Executive session pursuant to MGLC 30A, Section 21A7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law, specifically Mass. GLC 214, Section 1B, Massachusetts Student Records Law, Mass. GLC 71, Section 34D, Massachusetts Student Records Regulation 603, CMR 23.00, ETSEQ, and Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA. 20 USC Section 1232G and 34 CFR Part 99 regarding student transfer requests.
So moved.
We also intend to adjourn from executive session. If that's okay for everybody?
No, so we're an hour ahead of schedule now. Amazing. So that's up.
It's the agenda. It has nothing to do with me. All right, roll call vote. Tim?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Mike? Yes. Sean?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. We are going to executive session and then adjourning from executive session.